In the summer of 1518, something happened in Strasbourg that still sounds impossible. A woman stepped into the street and began to dance. Not for fun, not for a festival. She danced for hours, then days. Soon others joined her. Within weeks, dozens and then hundreds were said to be dancing uncontrollably. Some collapsed, some were injured, some reportedly died from exhaustion. And the strangest part? The authorities thought the solution was to let them keep dancing. This event became known as the Dancing Plague of 1518. It took place in Strasbourg, then a free city in the Holy Roman Empire, now part of France. According to the most widely repeated accounts, it began in July when a woman called Frau Trophäa started dancing in the street and kept going for days. Within about a week, more than 30 people had joined her. By August, some reports put the number of afflicted as high as 400. This wasn't described as celebration, it was described more like compulsion. People appeared unable to stop. They danced past exhaustion, past pain, and past the point of collapse. Contemporary authorities were alarmed, but their explanation now sounds almost surreal. Local physicians reportedly blamed the outbreak on overheated or hot blood. Instead of isolating the dancers, city leaders arranged places for them to continue, including guild halls, and even brought in musicians and others to encourage the movement. If the victims needed to dance it out, they reasoned, then dancing more would cure them. It did the opposite. The frenzy only grew worse. To modernize, the whole story feels almost mythological. But Strasbourg in 1518 was not a calm or healthy place. The region had endured severe hardship, famine, disease, and deep social stress. Life was unstable, frightening, and shaped by strong religious beliefs, including fears of curses and divine punishment. One theory, advanced by historian John Waller and summarized by Britannica, is that this was a case of mass psychogenic illness, a collective psychological response triggered by extreme stress in a population already primed by fear and superstition. In other words, the suffering was real, but the cause may not have been a poison or infection. It may have been panic, belief, and trauma taking physical form. So what actually caused the dancing plague of 1518? The most popular modern explanation is mass psychogenic illness, sometimes called mass hysteria. This theory fits the conditions of the time: widespread stress, hunger, disease, and a belief that supernatural forces could afflict the body. Another theory is ergot poisoning, caused by a toxic mold that can grow on rye and produce spasms or hallucination-like symptoms. But many historians and writers have argued this explanation doesn't fully fit the event, because ergot poisoning does not neatly explain how people supposedly kept dancing for such long periods with such endurance. There is also the question of exaggeration. Some details may have grown in the retelling over the centuries, especially the highest numbers and exact death counts. But the broad event itself, a real outbreak of uncontrollable dancing in Strasbourg in 1518, is widely accepted and documented in historical summaries. What makes the dancing plague so disturbing is not just how weird it was, it's how human it was. A city under pressure, people living with fear, hunger, and uncertainty. A culture that believed invisible forces could punish the body. And then one impossible event that spread from person to person, not like a normal disease, but like terror itself. That idea is what makes this story survive. It sits in the strange space between medicine, psychology, religion, and mass belief. More than 500 years later, the dancing plague of 1518 still has no single universally accepted explanation. But maybe that's why it remains one of history's most haunting events, because it reminds us that not every plague spreads through blood or breath. Sometimes, under the right pressure, fear itself can move through a crowd, and once it starts, No one knows how to make it stop. If you thought this was one of history's strangest true stories, subscribe to Null Echo for more dark, strange, and unexplained mysteries from history, science, and space.